IPPOSI for inviting me here today. So I'm going to see if I can stick to this challenge. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about our history with the epilepsy e-health environment and our electronic patient record and where it's leading us today and where it touches on some of the points talked about earlier on. The purpose of this slide is just to tell you that the whole business of electronic patient records or electronic health records isn't a destination, it's a journey. And we've been on this journey, the epilepsy community, since about 2004, and with a lot of different milestones along the way. There's a little teenager over on this side, but the good news is that that teenager is now very optimistic, looking at potential for new ideas that he or she can do with this electronic health record that I'm going to just try and tell you about. So when we started on this journey, some of the drivers that we've heard of this morning about the ability to have simultaneous access to a shared care record, engaging patients as partners in their own care, having access to data that you can interrogate for a number of different purposes, was the original reason we went on this journey. The system is now used across Ireland in a number of different epilepsy centres with about 9,000 individual health records, and those bubbles are just different use contexts that the epilepsy electronic patient record is used in. But what I want to get to is where we are today, having done 15 years of this journey. We're now looking at how the electronic patient record, and this applies across the board, it isn't peculiar to epilepsy, can actually support a range of activities around patient care that span from the laboratory to the living room. And what I mean by that is we're looking at how our electronic patient record for epilepsy is supporting genomic medicine. And genomic medicine is often talked about as being precision care, finding the underlying cause of the condition rather than treating the symptoms. We're looking at the use of the electronic patient record to give people access to their own healthcare record, allow them to become authors of their own healthcare record so that they can be more proactive in their care. And looking at data so that we can find out from our population of data things about disease progression, treatment response rates and all that, and how knowing that can feed into other individuals' care. This is a national project going because we're able to have the electronic patient record across the country. So from the genomics point of view, what this is allowing us to do is genomic medicine relies on really having a clear clinical picture of the individual to link what's going on in their genetics with what's going on clinically. Without that, the genetics is useless. So our electronic patient record is giving us that data. We're able to understand, interpret the genetics in the context of the clinical picture. So, sorry, I got backwards. So the other thing we're doing is we've built a patient portal into the electronic patient record, the epilepsy electronic patient record, which gives the patients a range of functionality. Caroline mentioned it earlier on this morning, gives people access to their patient summary about their epilepsy care, gives them access to questionnaires about their quality of life, their knowledge of their epilepsy, setting goals about their epilepsy care, preparing for appointments, and access to clinic letters. I won't go into the detail of that, except to say, here's some of the things people are saying about this portal. It gave me added confidence that something is being done about my particular case, and was useful to have my records so easily accessible. I had forgotten I had certain procedures or taken specific anti-epilepsy medications. I really value this. I am a control freak. I like to have as much information as possible. Now, lest you think I think it's all positive, of course some people come back to us and they say, oh my goodness, I saw the word abnormal in my record. I was a bit alarmed about that. But you know what they do then is sometimes they go and they find out what does this, for example, the word comorbidities, what does that mean? So we feel that giving people access to their information is helping with health literacy, improving health literacy. I won't go on to that just in the interest of time. Clinicians are saying, oh, well, we use the word anti-epilepsy drugs, but patients mightn't. But we want to get to a point where we're able to talk the same language to each other. We shouldn't be them and us. And as somebody already said here this morning, is if you haven't been a patient to date, someday you're going to be. We're all patients. So we want to be able to share the same language. In terms of the analytics part of the project, because we now have 9,000 longitudinal records in our epilepsy electronic patient record, we're able to do some interrogation that gives us added insights about what's going on for our population of people with epilepsy. It allows us to draw different conclusions, allows us to make different decisions, and to monitor performance of our healthcare system. And I won't go into that, but just some examples. One of our NCHDs has recently done a study on looking at the etiology spread across 3,500 people who have records in the electronic patient record, and they're able to see at a broad level kind of what the etiology, and then dig down further into that. And this is important in terms of understanding the type of treatments that we need to engage with. So I'm just going to get to the end of this, and just to say that the theme, as I understand it for today, was how do we get electronic health records right from the start? And I'm not here saying that the epilepsy ecosystem has done that, but what I do want to let you know is it's actually very little about technology and really all about people. And it's really about getting people together, and I mean people on every side of the equation. It's not just the clinicians, it's not the healthcare providers, it's patients, their families, technologists, policymakers, and that all those people together have a commitment to making things better. And that these people are domain experts in their own way, and they bring all of that divergent thinking together to say, how do we use the technology to make it better? What kind of technology do we need? We don't want to, as somebody said, pave the cow path. We want to do something really different. It takes courage, it takes energy, and it takes a long time. As I say, I've been at this for 15 years. I'm 21. I know I look a lot older, but there you go. I think one of the important things, though, also to say is that there is that concept of technology ethics. People talk about GDPR and data protection. Data protection is not new. But the whole business of how do we do this ethically? How do we create technology that is for everybody and makes things better for everybody? So I just want to acknowledge all these different people who've been involved in this, Epilepsy Ireland, people with epilepsy and their families, and a range of other people who've been involved in our journey to date. And I just want to leave you with this thought. We were talking after the last session earlier on to say, well, what would make this different? I've been thinking about this for a long time, and I think the power is in the customer. Like in other industries, we talk about the customer is always right. What does the customer want, and how do we deliver that? And actually think about who the customer is. Sometimes the customer is the patient. Sometimes the customer is a care partner of the patient. Sometimes it's another clinician who's looking for something because they've been referred by another clinician. Customers are all sorts of people in this regard, but they're always right. Let's listen to what they're talking about and make a movement to get this done. Okay, thank you very much.